How's it going? Wow, you stuck around for round 3. Thank you, and badges for all of you. I'm ready. Whoever I have to look at. I'm going to talk tonight about genericide, how it killed aspirin, how Kleenex is barely hanging on, and Google apparently is invincible. It's important to note tonight we're talking about trademarks. We're not talking about copyrights or patents or trade secrets. And I got to get legal and technical for a sec. A trademark is a designation of source. It prevents confusion in the marketplace. It's what lets you know that you're buying Miller beer instead of Oberon beer. I don't know why you would do that. It's what tells us that this coffee isn't just coffee, it's Big B coffee, go Michigan. It's Starbucks coffee. It's Evian, or it's Aquafina, it's not just water. The orange bee and the backwards naive are there to tell the consumers in the marketplace, this is who this product comes from. And you can have protection on a lot of different kinds of things. You can trademark logos, slogans, sounds, smells, colors. You can have association marks like Girl Scouts and SIGEP. You can have other kinds of marks as well, but what you cannot have is exclusive protection on a generic word for your product. Bottled water called water, or even agua, a foreign equivalent, is unacceptable because what else is everyone else supposed to call it if you own water? But water for a casino would be kind of cool. Yo-yo used to be a brand name, but then someone figured out it was actually a Tagalog word for a ball on a string. And so Dunkin' loses the trademark after a competitor challenges them and brings this fact out in court. Aspirin is a case not of the generic drug becoming available to everyone, like what happens with Claritin and all the other stuff. The actual brand name becomes lost, and Bayer's money that they poured into it is all gone. Once you have your distinctive trademark that's very unique and unusual, after 5 years, no one can take it from you. It's yours forever and ever unless you screw it up. And one of the ways to screw up trademark ownership is to let it become generic, like all of these guys. These were all once brand names that were poured millions of dollars into branding, and now we can all call any metal thing with teeth in a pull string a zipper. We can call any game Monopoly. Some of this was lost because of just ignorance, or they just lost control, and sometimes it was like cellophane or duct tape. They owned a patent on the actual thing, so they figured we don't have to worry about it. But then what happens is the patent expires, and there's nothing else to call it. You have to call it cellophane. These brands, I think, are in danger. If I ask you for a Kleenex and you hand me a Puffs, I am probably not even going to notice. If you ask me for a Post-it and I give you a Meyer brand sticky note, you're not going to notice. So if you're lucky enough to become super famous, that your brand could become generic, you have to make sure that your customers, your employees, your competitors, and even journalists and bloggers are respecting your trademark. And that can be a bumpy road because if you go on an anti-genericide campaign, you could end up admitting that your mark is already generic. And then it gets taken away from you forever and ever, and you've killed your own brand. Oops. Xerox is doing a pretty good job with this. They're coming right out and saying, we're not generic yet, but we could become generic, so please don't let that happen to us. And you'll notice they've got the zipper. Who saw the Google's doodle yesterday? Zip. That used to be a generic or a brand name, and now it is not. Kleenex is also doing a pretty nice job. They tell authors, don't let your characters in your weepy romance novels use a Kleenex with a little K to wipe their little tears. Make sure they're using a tissue or a big K, Kleenex brand tissue. Google's interesting because they're so close. We say I Google it all the time, and it doesn't necessarily mean you're using the Google search engine. College Humor has a great video about how Google is the best way to Yahoo since like AOL. Zappos is embracing it. They're verbifying their own brand. I Zappos at work to mean I purchase online shoes at work. And maybe Google and Zappos feel so strong that they don't have to worry. Maybe their customers are too savvy, or maybe they think their names are too weird, but tell that to Xerox. This could be the future. Google it with Bing. Zappos it with Payless. If they're not careful, they're going to lose it. And could you imagine when anyone can use Google, what's going to happen to that brand name? The sort of last stopgap measure you could have is something called dilution, where if another brand is sucking away all your goodwill and putting it on themselves, you can sue them. But Starbucks was not successful when they challenged the Rat City Roller Girls, a roller derby team from Seattle. So hopefully a couple of things were of interest to you, and remember, you can Google using Google, but don't Xerox a Xerox on a Xerox. Thanks.